Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today we're going to do a little project of a little pouch, what I call a travel pouch. And you could make one of these for just about anything. I'm going to make one for my stamp tools, and also I'm going to make one for my wife's makeup brushes that she can put in her makeup bag. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, so this project, I've already, before I started the camera, went through and made me a pattern, and I just made this basically by looking at what I wanted to carry in it, and that was some short makeup brushes. There's about 5 of those, I think, and I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 of these leather stamped tools that I'm going to put in this one. So they're both going to be the same, but I'm only going to make one today for the video. So what I did is I just laid these out on a piece of poster board. As I drop one on the floor, I just laid these out on a piece of poster board and then kind of measured around to see how big I wanted that to be when it was finished, and how much leather. It's kind of like making a holster, the same thing, where you form it around the gun, and I'm gonna have it snap at the end, so you can see just with my pattern how that holds those stamps. The leather is probably 3 to 4 ounce. It's not very thick. I'm sure can make it out of a lot thicker leather, and I may end up making it out of thicker leather. We'll see. But the main reason I went with this lighter weight leather was because of the makeup brushes more than anything. But we'll see. It probably won't hold its shape as well as the poster board, as far as the heavy weight that these stamps have, but the other one, I may use this one for the makeup brushes because they don't weigh hardly anything. So you might have to take in account how much what you're putting in your little pouch is actually going to weigh to determine the thickness of your leather. So let's go ahead and we'll take our pattern, we'll lay it out flat, and I did mark it for unfinished side so I know which side that I want it up. I'll go ahead and trace it out. And I am using a pen, but I'm on the unfinished side, so you're not going to see anything. So I'll go around my pattern. Then I did go ahead and punch where I'm going to put my snap. So I'll go ahead and punch those holes too and mark them. And let's go ahead and move the pattern out of the way. Let's cut that out real quick. It's not very thick leather. I do have a nice sharp blade, so it's not going to take much effort to cut this out. I do want to make sure I take my time though and follow my lines, my pattern. And you notice I did round off the ends I did the flaps, the side flaps, different radius than and I'll show you that in a second as soon as I get it cut out. But I did the side flaps a different radius than I did the finished, what I would call the front flaps. And you'd have, on the front, you'd have an inside and an outside flap. And I'm just going to continue to follow that line. And this leather, normally, if I was using 8 to 10 ounce, something like that, making a holster, I wouldn't really care which side the line was on because I would go ahead and bevel it. But this is not going to be beveled. My cut edge is going to be my finished edge. So that's why I wanted to make sure I drew my lines on the inside and not the outside, so I didn't end up with a little faint ink line on the outside when it was finished. And you can see it's cutting fairly easy. Again, it's a new blade. It's nice, supple, lightweight leather. And cutting on a self-healing mat like this, it makes freehanding so much easier, I think, because once you start cutting, that self-healing mat seems to kind of naturally guide your blade, so it just kind of helps you keep that blade nice and steady. It doesn't want to slip on you, so I think that helps. Alright, so there's my piece cut out. There's my scrap piece. We'll set that aside in the scrap bin. We'll use that maybe for something else. But you could see what I was talking about on, here's my end flaps, how they're more rounded on the end. And then all I did was round the corners on the front and the back flaps here. So I know my front is the shorter one, and I've got it marked too on my pattern. I've got inside flap, front flap. Front flap would be my outside. So this is my outside. I'm going to take my poly cutting board and my 1/8 inch punch and go ahead and punch my holes for my snaps. And you can see I just hit it once, and that tells you how nice and soft that leather is. So these two ends, you would lay whatever it is in the center, fold your two ends over the top of that, like so. Then you would fold in your front and your inside flap, and then your front flap, and snap that. And when you do, it just makes a little quick pouch. So let's go ahead and double check this again before we move on. This is my front flap. Let me get my setter tool, and I am using the brass colored snap. and the setter, the little anvil and the tool. So this side will have my finished brass colored snap. So we'll put it through from the outside and as thin as this leather is, I only have one size or one length of these snaps, so I just took a Dremel tool and just ground off about half of that stem. And let me see if I can show you what it looks like. There's the difference. I don't know. I think you can see the height difference there. So I just ground off about half of that so I don't have to go buy different lengths. So we'll set that on the anvil. Take our tool, our mallet, and what that does is that by grinding that down to the smaller size, that keeps that from wanting to roll over because it's too long. So let's take our setter again and let's hit it a couple more times. Make sure we're getting it flat, and that feels really good. Alright, so we'll go ahead and flip that over and we'll put the male part of the snap on the outside. So that means the stud will go in from the inside. We'll push down that leather around that post. Make sure it's nice and flat. Flip our anvil over to the flat side. Put the male part of the snap on. Take our setting tool. It's nice and tight. Move that out of the way. Put our tools up. And we're ready to lay our stamping tools in there, or makeup brushes, whatever it is you want to put in it. And like I said, in this case, there happens to be 8 stamping tools, and they are fairly heavy. So fold in your 2 end flaps, fold over your bottom flap, and then fold over the snap and snap it closed. So there's your quick little pouch. The ends will stay tucked in because you've got them folded over to where they actually overlap just maybe 1/8 of an inch, but enough to where they're not going to fall out. Again, if I was going to do it, I'll probably use this one for my wife. I'll give it to her for the makeup brushes because they're much lighter, and then I'll use a little bit heavier leather for my stamps. But still, you can makes a nice little carrying pouch. You can throw it around, throw it in your toolbox. I would say after this, the lighter weight the product, the lighter weight the material will be fine. The heavier the product, the heavier the leather material. So just a rule of thumb that I've learned just by doing it. So there's another completed project. Alright, so there's another project in the books. quick, easy, handy, something that you can use. Probably another product you could sell at a craft fair. Thanks for coming along. Please, as I always say, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.